All right, and welcome everybody. Appreciate you all joining live here at the PowerUp stage. And for those of you tuning in, so first off, welcome to the PowerUp stage, sponsored by Wärtsilä Energy Storage and Optimization. Appreciate Nico giving us the opportunity to come in. As Nico mentioned, this is our 50th episode of Ask Mayfield Anything. So over 4 years ago now, we started this monthly webinar series, and the whole reason I like to do it is because I get to bring on smart people, smart, fun friends, and talk about nerdy things, and I get to learn more. So for me, it's been a fun experience and something that I'm just really enjoying doing. So this is our 50th episode. Really excited to be able to do it live at RE+. And as Nico pointed out, because it went right over my own head, I also celebrated my 50th birthday this week. So that was quite a coincidence. Yes. Had a wonderful party at downtown Disney on Monday, and so all was well. So thank you all for joining. I want to introduce the guests that we have today, and so I'll let them give a little spiel on themselves as well. So first, Chris Crowell from Solar Builder. I guess tell us a little bit about yourself and Solar Builder, so folks don't know.
Yeah, Chris Crowell at Solar Builder. I'm the editor-in-chief. We're a quarterly magazine website that is dedicated to new products, technology, in solar and storage. Cover everything from residential to utility scale. We have YouTube series as well to talk about new products and interesting projects. And so, this is like my almost 10th RE+, something like that. So excited to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. Thanks glad you could join. Kate Collardson.
Sustainable Solar Resources.
You had it. Sustainable Solar Resources. Longtime friend, longtime colleague. Thank you so much for joining.
So excited.
I know that you have been in the industry for a long time. You have a lot of experience, and so what would you like folks to know about yourself?
Sustainable Solar Resources we put together a website, solarrecycle.org. And that just provides information to the industry and to the public about recycling, where recyclers are for solar equipment.
Great.
We also track policy and other things.
Awesome. Okay, so today we are picking, on the heels of what Nico just did, his top 5 swag, or top whatever swag. There was a lot of stuff up here when we got up here. We are talking about our top 5 things that we saw at the show. Not necessarily products, but pretty much products, but just ideas, products, and things in general. And so, and then at the end, we will announce our winner and have them come up and just kind of give a little bit info for that as well. So just kind of going down the list, we're here with 40,000 plus other folks. So there's a lot here, obviously. There's a lot of different components. And so just some of the things that caught our eye, I'll kick it off, kind of talk about it, and we'll all just kind of throw it out. Actually, let's do the honorable mentions first.
Let's do that.
Please.
Okay, so not to take away from anything. So over here, if you're here live, over to our left, there is this beautiful PV module. I know those online can't see it because it's out of the camera. But this is from Craig Miner and his son.
Avery,
thank you. They're Miner.
Family's gallery, Miner Family Gallery.
And they're based out of Martha's Vineyard. So they've been here all week doing some real interesting stuff on some end-of-life PV modules. So it's a near and dear to Kate, obviously.
Yeah.
Something that they're working on. And so we have the RE Plus 20 logo over here for those of you that are looking at it. They're up between halls A and B if you want to go check out their work. I really wanted to have him bring the one that he's working on today, but unfortunately he's working on it today. But it's a really neat painting. So
the very first item that we had in our text chain, though, was I said, check out this new technology. And it was some grazing sheep that were outside, what's old is actually new again. I thought that was interesting that we can incorporate that into all of this technology today, so that was a good honorable mention spot.
That I haven't been able to go up to the sheep. I hear you can't pet the sheep, which is a disappointment to me.
It's disappointing.
They're hard at work.
Yeah.
Hard at work. They can't interrupt them. Yeah. So yeah, the sheep grazing was another big honorable mention. And just the agrivoltaics in general. I know that there's the agrivoltaics area, and so that's just a really big one. For us personally, we were talking with some developers that are doing stuff around ag, cattle farms and things like that. So it's a fun, exciting thing to see integrating the two technologies.
Absolutely, it's a fun and exciting new direction for the industry.
Yeah, and so where I live in Corvallis, Oregon, and it's actually really interesting because we have a school, Oregon State University, go Beavers, that they have a big ag school, and so they have a 2 megawatt array. They're actually actively grazing sheep there. They're testing. They're doing all sorts of university things, testing soil temperatures, all these things. So it's really interesting to see, fun to see. It's actually getting into being used in the commercial out there. So as opposed to the goats that want to climb and eat everything. So let's use the animals wisely.
Yes.
All right. So with that, let's talk about some of the products so we can make sure that we have our time for our guests. So one of the things that caught my eye, is talking with my team, we have 6 folks here from Mayfield Renewables, and so we had our text chain going as well of kind of what those products were. One that stood out for us as an engineering firm and something that I think it would be interesting for folks is out there's SMA's new, their flex inverter. So they have they've brought one of their inverters, and basically the flex part of it is that you can you can choose the voltage, the operating voltage at which you're working within. And so it's an inverter that can work with 600 volt systems, 1000 volt systems, or 1500 volt systems. So I thought that one was interesting. We're seeing a lot of repowering systems. I don't know how, kind of getting into that whole end of life thing. But that was an interesting one for me, just in the sense that one inverter that can serve multiple markets. You don't have to rewire arrays. You don't have to do that kind of stuff. So did you guys get a chance to look at that or talk with them?
I did, yeah. I mean, SMA has a lot going on, and it's interesting that new technology, again, kind of not what's old is new again, but the idea of repowering and kind of going backwards with something that's new that we don't want to pass by, projects or technology that's still needed in areas while we're looking to the future, Yeah.
I think it's so important. It's a personal passion of mine is making sure that we are using the equipment that we install to its fullest and until it actually reaches the true end of its life. Yeah. And this allows that. I'm very excited.
Yeah. So it's not going to be as is with everything, it's not the perfect product for every application. There's definitely some limitations. So, when you're using it on the lower end of that voltage range, it means you get a lower power output, but it's a great concept. I'm glad to see somebody like SMA putting effort into that, and so expecting we're going to see that just proliferate and more manufacturers going out and doing stuff like that. So that was a great one. The next one was the Critter Guard. I want you to introduce that one, Kate, because that was your
Yeah, absolutely. I just this morning, in fact, I came across a new Critter Guard mounting system from UNIRAC. Now, as I was just mentioning, it's important that we are able to use all of the products that we install to the end of their lives, and critters can shorten lives. So Critter Guard for residential installs is very important, but it can be a hassle to install. It's a hassle to make it work well, and you often have to drill into the module frame, which is not the best, but UNIRAC has a new system that will clamp onto the module frame and is reusable. You can take it off and pop it back on as needed. So I'm pretty excited to see a new system for mounting Critter Guard. It's an important thing that we should be putting on our resi installs.
Yeah, and making it simpler for O&M teams,
Exactly. Yeah.
And so you were spending a lot of time in the O&M world, kind of working with a lot of residential folks. So I guess I'm just curious, not in a world that I'm in a lot. And in Oregon, our squirrels are well trained, so they don't actually go under
that's so kind of them.
Isn't it nice of them? Yeah, they're very nice.
I was talking to a friend just the other day who had a raccoon family under his array that had gotten not only into his wiring but also into his roof, and It happens more often than we want to believe.
Yeah, been there for sure.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, so it's something that I know is out there and is an important thing, very costly, obviously,
yes.
to
thousands and thousands of dollars
right.
to repair. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Wonderful. And so just to make sure that I'm clear, so this product that you were talking about, I know folks can't see it real well because it's so small, but it's the Critter Guard, but it's racking agnostic, right? So it
seems to be, yeah, it just clamps onto the frame of the module itself. So it could go with any racking, but it comes from UNIRAC.
Okay.
I'm sure they would prefer.
So that's a helpful thing. And so one of the things that I've always heard from people is just how hard it is to do that, and it just becomes unwieldy. And so that's a great one. Okay. Just kind of keep an eye on our time here. So another one, Chris, you kind of brought up the HelioScope product and kind of what you saw in that. So why don't you tell us about, our team, I should say. I used to use HelioScope a lot. Yeah. Our team uses HelioScope a lot. So I'm just curious, and I was really excited to hear about what you saw in there.
Yeah. So HelioScope, they were acquired by Aurora back in 2021, and this new feature they debuted this year, similar obstruction detection, is their first real use of Aurora Solar's AI smarts in the HelioScope platform. So when if you're looking at a giant roof, there could be hundreds of skylights or vents, HVAC units, and you have to kind of go in and draw those keep outs, and it's time-consuming work for when you're trying to plan that array layout. And what this does is it uses computer vision, where when you draw that first one and you essentially click the button for similar obstruction detection, within 30 seconds, it basically found 182 of that same skylight on this massive roof. And, saving those 15 minutes, 20 minutes that you'd spend of tedious work.
It's incredible.
Copy,
paste, get in the right spot.
Tedious, you might mess it up at some point.
Exactly.
And it's a very good use of AI. I'm in media, so I'm leery of AI sometimes hearing it. But this is this is what AI should be used for. I feel like it was very impressive to see happen live, and you could think about where that could go from here.
Yeah, and so we've been a long-time user. Actually, I was talking with the folks at HelioScope. We have a very low user number, so we're one of the first adopters of it. So having seen that and kind of those iterations, it's exciting to see. And yeah, I'm with you on the AI thing. I'm trying to embrace it, but now that I'm 50, I can just be that curmudgeon old man and just not.
You've earned it.
Yeah.
So that's an exciting one. So the folks over at HelioScope, I know they're doing a lot of work. I was actually talking with Paul Grana earlier this week, and some of the things that they're working on, where they're moving it. So it just seems like that's just one of the first steps that they're moving into.
Yeah, and when you think about all the data center projects that are coming online too, right? There's massive roofs coming online, so scaling up the capabilities of something like HelioScope to do those jobs quicker, just good, just what we need to be doing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, the next one, actually, I think we all were into this, and so I think maybe Kate, you brought it to our attention. So the folks over at Span. So just so happens SMA and Span were next to each other. That was not planned out by any means. It's not that we were being lazy, not walking the huge thousands of square feet of floor space. But the folks over at Span have some really interesting products. People probably have known about them for a long time. If not, you should go check them out. For me, it was really interesting because there's a new UL standard that's coming out, UL 3141. We actually just talked about it in one of our recent AMAs. And for those of you that are out there, we're going to be talking about it again. We're hosting a education summit in Austin, Texas in just a few weeks. And so this is going to be one of the big topics. We actually have people coming in, Jason Fisher being one of those people, helping us talk about this topic on 3141, which is adjacent to, if you're not familiar with it, it's a brand new standard, so it's not surprising people aren't familiar with it, but it's adjacent to the 1741 CRD, which is around power control systems, PCS, and something that's in National Electrical Code, something near and dear for me. So all of that is a setup for the Span product, this is just one part of what they have going for this, but the PCS function of their products. And so one of the things I found was really interesting as I was talking with them yesterday, they are able to, working with folks on minimizing service upgrades or the need for service upgrades, or the need to even install a larger service to begin with. So if it's a brand new installation, if you go through and do your load calcs and you have a large load, if the numbers come out relatively large, over 200 amps in a residential application, using the span product, you can actually load shed and you can actually actively manage those loads. And so one of the things they can do is just still having a smaller service, because reality is we're probably not going to be drawing that much current in a residential application. If you are, that's, you've got some crazy stuff going on. So that was one of the things that they have. And then the other one, before I turn it over to you guys to talk about what you saw there, the other thing I thought was really neat was kind of talking into energy storage and backups capabilities. Span actually has the ability for you to, integrate with a battery system, but when the power goes out, when the battery goes into backup mode, you can actually start shedding loads in a way that doesn't overload the inverter itself. So if you have a 50 amp output from your inverter, you can make sure that you shed loads in such a way that you're not going to overload the inverter and bring it down, and then all of a sudden you have no power again. So those were a couple things. There's some other stuff I spent, half hour, 45 minutes at least in the booth nerding out on it. Yeah. There's definitely some cool stuff. Kate, what did you see? I know that you talked to them as well.
Yeah, I just want to call out their booth, which is actually, it has solar on it, it has battery on it, it's grid tied right now, but it can be off grid, and I think that's pretty darn cool. It's outside, which is necessary for sort of thing. But I think it's fun. They've also got a couple new products coming out in 2025. And if you've installed Span before and thought, gosh, this is a difficult install, they've made some improvements. They've listened to the feedback, and they've made this new product. The two new products, 4048 and a 2416, are they're easier to install, better installability.
That's what I was talking with Troy over there yesterday, and that's exactly what he was saying. It's like more space. It's much more installer friendly. So that's exciting to see.
Yeah, just in general, PCS is just the future. I get excited about how it avoids main panel upgrades. You can exceed 120% rule. There's just a lot of stuff that is revolving around home energy with the power of PCS. So Span, advancing their product in that way, I think is just great.
Yeah. I'm really excited about it because as we're seeing with systems in general, they're getting larger and larger, residential specifically, larger and larger systems, and having these multiple power sources. So we're needing to actively manage them. And so integrating solar, storage, potentially generators, the grid, all these things, this is what we have to do. And so seeing those active management things is exciting, and I'm glad to see it coming to fruition really quickly. And as somebody on the code making panel, it's fun to try and keep code up with what's going on, looking into the future, using that crystal ball to make sure that we are not inhibiting the ability to do this kind of stuff. So, so great.
Good work, Span.
Awesome. Okay, so looks like we're running just perfectly on time. So we wanted to introduce who we are calling, we're dawning our winner. They don't get any prizes. They don't get any anything other than our kudos.
Give them this critical clip.
We can do a drum. You can do a drum roll if you want. So we going through the floor, looking at everything. It was Anza. I don't know how this works. So Anza, and so we have Mike Hall that's going to join us. So Mike, if you want to come on up, we'll do an introduction real quick. So. So thank you very much, Mike, for joining us. For those of you who may not know, I'll do a quick introduction to Anza. I'm going to butcher it, so I'm going to give Mike the opportunity to correct us and make sure that you are that we're getting this right. So Anza is a software tool, and it was one of those things I heard about it, and I was like, okay, that sounds, I guess, interesting. No offense to you, but then went to the booth, got a demo of it, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is actually really, really cool. I was really blown away by what you guys were doing. So, Mike, I know you were, former Borrego, so you've been in the industry for a long time. We've known each other for a long time. And so will you give us the real introduction on what Anza is and, who it's serving and kind of what the overall functionality of it is?
Yeah, happy to do it. And thanks for coming and checking out. And we're honored that you picked us. I think the easiest way to start is just, I like to use a metaphor. So This is a $50 billion industry in the U.S., and even companies that are looking to buy tens or hundreds of millions of dollars of solar modules are still doing it, kind of like my parents bought airline tickets in the 80s. You're calling and emailing one vendor at a time saying, hey, I need 5 megawatts in Q2 of 2025. What do you got? But the supply chain landscape is really complicated. There's like 35 suppliers. They all have multiple SKUs. And so from our work at Borrego, we realized that there was a lot of optimization that you could be doing in the space of procurement and that you could really be increasing project profits. And so we had this idea for Anza. And basically what we've done is we have taken all of the supply chain data from 95% of the U.S. module supply. We have over 33 suppliers, over 120 different module products. And we've taken all that data and taken it out of PDFs and spreadsheets and structured it. And so now you log into Anza and it's more like Kayak. You can see the entire market, every module available. You can see availability, pricing, but also all the technical specifications that matter to you. And you can filter and sort based on the things you care about. You only want modules that can withstand 40 millimeter hail. You can instantly sort the whole database. You only want modules made in the US, module assembly, module cells, you can search the database. And this is all done in seconds. And the other thing that we did, and this is what we brought over from Borrego, is we thought that the industry was kind of backwards in thinking about, hey, it's all about price. Like, what's the cheapest cost per watt? But actually, it's actually about value, right? How much energy are these different modules going to produce? How much do they cost to install? And so what the Anza platform does is you can put information about your project in, and it will instantly, well, not instantly, it's about 20 seconds. It will, for every module in the database, calculate expected lifetime energy production and differences in expected install costs, discount that into current dollars, and let you see apples to apples, every module in the market, differences in total lifetime value. So that's what it does. We do think it is a transformative experience. It's really taken the supply chain and procurement into the modern age and showing what you can do with data technology.
Yeah, I have got an early demo, and I've been a big believer in what you guys are doing. And to even further your analogy of Kayak, I feel like it's Kayak plus CNET, if that's a good thing. The filtering and all that is great, but the calculations that you do and like your effective dollars per watt and simplifying and adding that engineering value, I feel like is huge. Like, it makes me feel like I could start my own development company, and I'm like an idiot. You know what I mean? Like it's that powerful, and you have energy storage on the platform now too. Right. And so anyone who walks in, if they're an engineer or not, they can use it however they want. And you also take it through procurement. Like, you will secure the deal, and with the vendor and all that. And
Yeah. A lot of what we do is we help. We're mostly working with developers and IPPs, a little bit with EPCs, but there's a little bit of choose your own adventure. And this is what has changed, and this is a new product I think that you're all recognizing, is that you can just subscribe to the data and technology, and that's new. That came out last month. Prior to that, we really worked with mostly IPPs, but some EPCs go from, hey, I need to procure sometime in the future, all the way through to PO, and then we also do logistics support afterwards. So really focused on this area of procurement where we think there's a lot of value to be had.
Yeah.
And one of the things that I was super impressed with was just the ability to go through and filter so many different things. And so, like, the thing that's resonated so well with me was getting the demo. You could isolate modules of a certain width. And so we were talking about, you've maybe done a 10% design, and you have your racking set or you have your row length set, and you change your modules by 2 millimeters, over a certain distance. That's just not going to work anymore. And so was speaking to me quite well. Like, I can get this module and it's going to fit in what I've already designed. This is beautiful. So kudos to your team for doing that. It was an impressive tool. Like I said, I was blown away when I walked in.
Blown away. That's what we like to hear.
So
that's what we like to hear.
So folks, if you're here, I would highly recommend going and checking out Anza. So it's just a great product. So
thanks so much.
Yeah, it was great to see that. So we are nearly out of time. So I really appreciate Mike for joining us. Chris and Kate, thank you for agreeing to do this. Give me some good ideas on what to talk about. Thank you all here for joining our 50th episode. Nico, I don't know where you are anymore, but thank you very much. I really appreciate the opportunity to be up here. And then one last time, we are at Mayfield Renewables. We have a education summit that we are doing. We're doing a lot of education as in general. And so if you're interested in learning more about these topics, others, we're going to be talking all day, really nerdy stuff in Austin, Texas. So would love to have you all come down, join us there. And
October 2nd and 3rd.
October 2nd and 3rd. Thank you very much. I kind of missed that part. So thank you all. I appreciate it. And enjoy the rest of your show.